Alright, hi guys, how we doing? I'm just gonna do one of these little videos here where I talk at you about the thing that I made, because I made a thing. Rather than all of these organized videos that I've been trying to plan over the last like 6 weeks and have completely failed at, because I do not seem to be able to edit in a way that I'm happy with. So, or deliver anything as instructional as I'd like and clear. So I stuff that. We're not going to do that right now. I'm just going to get some videos out about stuff that I made, just fun sewing stuff like the videos I was doing before, and we'll worry about everything else later. Okay, so we just have some content. Anyway, this is a review of Very Easy Vogue V8896. And my name is Simone, and this is Goblin Fruit. And I sew stuff for a living, but I also sew stuff, well, I'm also attempting to sew stuff from commercial patterns, just to explore what they're like. And while I do have a dress out of it, I don't know how successful I was, but as I will explain, I was also highly impaired. So let's have a look. It's this one. I made this dress, so the full length version, but I hacked the short sleeve into a long sleeve. Yeah, and off the bat, that was all the changes that I made when I cut out the pattern. So I cut out the pattern on Saturday after sort of doing my grocery shopping and all of that kind of Saturday stuff, and I went to visit my nan and hung out with my mum, and we went to the gym. And then in the mid-afternoon, I decided I was going to make myself a dress. You know, it's a very easy dress, it'll be fine, to go out that night. That didn't happen. I did not get a dress made in what was going to be 3 hours. In 3 hours in which I was not paying a lot of attention. Girlfriend and I decided to go out and see a band, which is something that I haven't done in quite some time because obviously COVID. And before you say anything, that's totally within the rules here. Here in WA, where we live in a nice little bubble where nobody's allowed to come in or come out, and everything is pretty much open and business as usual, except for maintaining social distancing, which we did. So, you know, it's all fine. So my girlfriend came over, but before she even came, like, I was desperate for a big night. Apparently, I really needed to let loose because I'd had enough of generally just being at home, and working from home and being a good girl. So I think I had my first cider at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon while I was cutting this out. I'm telling you all this because it's important. It's totally important to how this dress went. And we went until about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was mighty hungover the next day. I went from cider to white wine to red wine. I mean, seriously, I'm in my 40s. I should know better than this. But I had a really good time. Saw a band, sat outside in a beer garden in the rain. And, you know, it was fun. It was fun. But as a result, the next day when I made this all up, on Sunday, I was mighty hungover, and I hadn't made good decisions on cutting it out the day before. And then on the putting it together, I was clearly not willing to think about it too much and make good decisions. So if you're happy with this result, then I guess a Very Easy Vogue pattern is very easy. I've got some issues with it, but I'm not going to say that they were the pattern. They were my decisions that I made that were bad. And I'm not going to say that my decision to go out drinking for most of the night was bad. I'm just going to go with my decision to make a dress on a hangover on my first pajama day in literally years. I don't think I've worn pajamas all day. Like, my girlfriend came up to pick up her car the next day, and I was still like, I don't care. I'm here in my pajamas. I'm going to stand out the front of my house and have a good chat with you. In my pajamas. It's classy. I'm fine. But yeah, So let's talk about the dress. Let's just go with, I didn't do it terribly well, but I still have a dress and it's fine. The fabric is a very, very stretchy velvet. So like super stretchy, lots and lots of lycra, printed velvet. And it does have a little bit of four-way stretch, like most of it is around the body, but there is a little bit of stretch that way as well, vertically. Showing off my unfinished facing there. And that was part of the problem, that it does have this vertical stretch. But it was from Spotlight. I probably bought it about 2 or 3 years ago, so they definitely don't have it now. I mean, it's really, really gorgeous, and I did buy it for the Kiss Me Simone lingerie collection, and I did put one piece into the collection in this velvet, but I do sort of feel that shot on camera and selling it online, it's quite deceptive, because it's so shiny. You can't really tell that when I did the still photos. In the still photos, it really just looked like the black was black. And, I mean, it is black, but because when light hits it, it reflects so much. I mean, I don't know if you can really tell, but yes, it's a black background on the floral, but under light, it's shiny, shiny, shiny. And when I photographed it, it just came up as black, and the floral came up really distinctive, and you couldn't really see that the crushed effect on the velvet really changes the look of the fabric. I mean, you can in video, but I wasn't really doing video then. You can see it. Anyway, so I bought this fabric back out again to have a play with, because I have so much of it. And for the new collection, I'm really playing with this idea, this really 40s noir kind of vibe with my slightly trashy femme fatale angle. I'm actually really kind of liking that at the moment. Dodgy makeup. I'm into it. So where was I going with that? Anyway, yeah, so it does have that 40s vibe. Having a wrap dress in it does kind of have that 40s vibe. I'm probably not the ideal figure type for a wrap dress. It does really look the best on someone who's very hourglass shaped, but you know, it's fine. And I do kind of feel like I'm wearing a dressing gown. I mean, are you getting that angle? I mean, tell me. Do you think it looks like I mean, I'm fine wearing it out if it still looks like a dressing gown, or if it's just me and I have weird ideas. But look, it's got this beautiful skirt on it. Like, it's really... Or maybe I'll just do a long shot video and insert that. You might be able to see it a bit better. But, okay, so the fabric that I picked did affect the size that I chose, and I should have chosen another size smaller. I still, from my measurements, and from even like the finished garment measurements on the pattern, I should have been a 14. But I made the size 12 because I was like, oh, you know, the fabric's quite stretchy, and I normally downsize on Big 4 patterns. And even though the finished garment measurements still look fine, there should be negative E's because it's made for a stretch fabric. But I didn't look at the fact that it's made for a stretch fabric that's only like from like the 10 centimeter piece stretches from there to there, which is what, 20% stretch, if that. Yeah, not very stretchy. Whereas I'm pretty sure this fabric is sitting up at about 100% stretch. Very, very stretchy. Anyway, we can test it. Hold on. I've got enough skirt to do this with. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's easily 100% stretch. It's way more stretchy. And I should have paid attention to that. And I should have cut the size 10, which in Big 4 patterns, I pretty much always cut the size 10, particularly if I'm doing it in a stretch fabric. So I don't know why I did the 12. And it is, I've taken some fabric out of it already, but it is, I mean, you can't really tell as much on a wrap, but, because you pull all the fabric around, but it is too big, you know. I mean, if anything on a straight size for me should be tight, it should be the waist, because that's where I'm proportionately biggest, and it's not, like this fabric that's sticking out here. Yeah, that extra flap there probably shouldn't be a thing. And the extra fabric in here is just, yeah, shouldn't be like that. It's not, and because it's so heavy, if I wanted to, like, okay, just gather that through the back and sort of give it the blouson effect, and even in the front, the skirt pulls it back down again so that it just sits flat. So in this fabric, it should just sit flat. It can't be sort of drifty and have positive ease. It kind of needs to have the negative ease. Okay, so I did also, so I made it up, and it was too big, and it does have these, okay, I made it up, and it was too big, but I didn't figure out that that was the problem because I was really hungover. I couldn't think straight. So I made a modification that was very weird. It works, it's fine, but I don't know why, as a pattern maker, I thought, and I even knew at the time, like, as far as like traditional pattern making goes, this is dumb. But I did it anyway. Okay, so normally, like, the pattern has these gathers in the waistband as well. And as you may be able to tell, my dress does not. Now it doesn't, because when I originally made it up and all the gathers were in here, all I got was this kind of volume of fabric here that sort of bloussoned out like I had an extra boob in the middle of my body. That's really all I can describe it as. It was just this shoop bit here, and I was like, I've got to cut all that fabric out. That's not working. So that's what I did. I cut like, maybe 2.5 inches out of the front, right here, like a half circle, through to there. It's worked, but that's a weird thing to do. And yeah, then I had to take some of the extra length out of this, because then that became too long to fit into the skirt piece without the gathering. So that's what I did. What I should have probably done is just cut maybe 1.5 inches, so 3 to 4 centimeters out of the length all the way around. Because of the vertical stretch and the weight of the skirt, it was pulling the waistline down to sit at a funny place, which meant that where that gathering was too low, and it would have been up here and pulled across and would have looked perfectly fine, but everything was just too low. Didn't figure that out. Anyway, so now what's happened, this is pulling forward a lot, whereas it's got the extra length in the back, and it is still too long in the back. You can sort of see, yes, I need to take that fabric out. But the shoulders are pushing forward, which I quite like, because it does really give it that 40s kind of look where it's a drop shoulder to the front and then the gathers are very, very visible. And maybe the pattern is a little bit forward anyway. And it doesn't look like that in the drawings. No, the gathers definitely come from the top of the shoulder seam and the top of the shoulder on here. And I like it to fall forward a little bit so you can see them. But it does mean there's a lot of tension in this band here. I did use some very heavy duty clear elastic. Have I got it here? Mm-hmm. Talk without me. Ow. That was vicious. Yeah, I did use some very heavy duty elastic that I can't find, otherwise I'd show it to you. Clear elastic in here, so it is very, very tense. Like, I just didn't want it to be hanging open in any way, but I clearly wasn't in danger of that happening anyway, because I then took so much fabric out of here. But you know, it's alright. At the end of the day, it's kind of worked. Probably my only issue really with the pattern. I mean, the pattern's fine if you get that gathering right. It doesn't say on the pattern pieces how far you gather from, to and from. I mean, look, I might have been a little impaired and couldn't figure out the markings, but I'm sure that it was just like gather that whole front panel. And it's like, there isn't enough fabric to get a good gather on the whole front panel. It would have been just kind of a loose, sporadic kind of a thing. And then the pictures really, like this one, not the drawing so much, but this really does look like it's just a gather in this end piece. But, I mean, even on the shoulders, it was kind of the same. It's like, am I supposed to gather the whole shoulder length or just a little bit in the middle, which is what you normally do outside of the seam allowance? Don't know. Anyway, that's probably my only argument with the pattern. The fact that this is like a turnover, and I turned it over twice because I didn't want to see the edge on the inside. Not that it would have mattered because it's so tight that there's no way you're going to ever see it at all. But, in future, if I did it again, I would probably line the bodice so that then you don't have to have any top stitching on here. And I don't love the top stitching. And I was trying to talk myself into hand stitching it down so that you didn't get top stitching, but then lazy. And hand stitching something stretchy is always a little bit dicey. Stretch it out and it breaks and then the whole lot's going to go because hand stitching's so kind of soft. Yeah. Anything else that I can think of with the pattern? Probably the skirt part finishes, like it turns over on itself into like a self-facing band. And I think I might just put some double-sided tape in there, like that iron-on interfacing tape, so that it stays down. I don't want to top stitch it down. I'm certainly not going to go in and hand stitch it down so that you can't see it. And generally the weight of the fabric, it is behaving itself, but it, you can't see it. I mean, the inside of the fabric isn't particularly obviously different anyway. It's not like it's suddenly yellow and you can see it. But the facing, is really, really narrow. And so, it just sort of sits out and does what it wants. And you're in danger of seeing that raw edge. But I don't know, the weight of it, it kind of holds its own. So what do you think? Should I tape it down and then deal with the fact that maybe that tape will eventually just wash off and separate anyway and might just be hideous? It does seem to be that oh, you can't see it. The hemline, I've had this problem before with wrap things. The inside is sitting lower than the panel on the outside, so as you see the hem, the bottom bit's tucking out. I have to keep kind of, if I think about it, pulling this bit back up again. Maybe I should just shorten it a touch on that side. Anyway, let me know what you think. Would you do it? There is another Vogue pattern that I think a lot of people have made into stretch velvet dresses, like a Vogue wrap pattern. I think it's a Vogue one, rather than this one. If you've done that one, maybe tell me, is it better? This is not too bad. And I think this kind of, I like this 40s dressing gown kind of look, and I'd probably, if I was feeling adventurous for the label, draft up something similar. Probably more of a 40s look for the range. Maybe with a bigger tie. Maybe even a reveal, like a collar out. I do like these sort of 3/4 sleeves. And the fact that it's very stretchy, other than the tension on here, is super comfortable. And I have mentioned on a velvet dress before, and I just don't know what I should do about it, is that when you have ties on velvet, the velvet catches on itself and the tie through the day slowly becomes tighter and tighter. Like this sort of hangs down here and looks loose, but it feels so tight in the back because the velvet, like the pile, is catching on itself and like there's no movement in it. It's like stuck. And then as it sort of, you get a breathing moment and it pulls in a little bit, then it's stuck there then. But it never pulls back the other way. Maybe if I cut the velvet in the other direction, maybe I've twice just managed to catch it in the wrong direction. I don't know. If you've got a solution for that, tell me. Yeah. What do we think? Anyway, let me know. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Thank you to all of my, there's not many of you, but I love you anyway. It's great. Subscribers who listen to me talk absolute rubbish. I do really appreciate you. It's nice to have a wee chat. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Chuck me a comment. Tell me what else you'd like me to do. I'm thinking I might do all the makes that I did in June and July as the month ends. So that's kind of pretty much my winter wardrobe. And I made up a whole heap of Lush fabrics. And then the next thing I was thinking of doing as well is I've ordered some fabric from Pit Trading, which was designer remnant. So they're quite small pieces. So I'm thinking, so next month for August, and these are quite summery kind of pieces. So I guess I'm branching out into my summer wardrobe now. And I don't know if I've made quite enough of my winter makes yet. Or maybe, June, July, August, maybe it's a September jobby. I don't know. But I've got quite a few summery pieces of fabric and these ones that I've ordered from Pit Trading that are very small cuts because they were like remnants or they were gifts. And how to make a garment mixing fabrics that are small cuts. So, you know, you normally have a dress and you need 3 or 4 or 5 meters of fabric for it and you get it all in the one thing. But I've got all these fabrics that are like 80 centimeter, 90 centimeter cuts. So what to make out of those. So mixing them together to make something bigger. If that makes sense. Anyway, if that sounds interesting, let me know, okay? Those are my ideas. Anyway, have a nice time. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay safe.